So you want to install a trolling motor on your walk-around cuddy. Totally doable. We're going to show you our strategy and what we ended up doing after doing all of our research, how we got in there, and yes, we'll answer that question. You don't have to have that complex sitting across your entire bow. It tucks away nicely. We'll cover that in this video. Let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'd recommend you do is call your motor manufacturer. Rhoda was fantastic. They simply asked for some photographs, some measurements, and they said, yes, you can install it if you put in an inspection port. And they were spot on. That inspection port was required. You've also got some choices to make around battery size, motor size, horsepower. Again, they can walk you through all those recommendations, but we went with a 36-volt lithium. It is a bit more expensive, but I believe in both longevity, weight, as well as just overall performance. Instead of 3 lead-acid batteries, this lithium has some features, Bluetooth, monitoring, quick charging, just too many benefits to not choose the lithium 36 volt. We had a perfect little shelf in our cuddy cabin, and we decided to do this battery box and nest it down and then strap everything down. When we're offshore and we're dealing with 2 and 3 foot swells and hammering our way through them, I did not want that battery bouncing around. We'll put down below links to Amazon where you can go to purchase all the hardware and parts and pieces that we used in this install. First thing for you to install is the battery box hold down strap. Just about every time we attach something to the boat, we use 3M marine adhesive as well as mechanical attachment. Now that we have the 2 tie-down anchors in, we're going to build the nest that this battery box sits in. That then holds it in place between the strap and then the 4 sides to nest the box in. That flat out is the most stable way to anchor a battery into your boat. As you can see here, with that pounding, this battery is going to go nowhere. It is nestled in tightly and can take that punishment. Next, we'll look at the install of the motor as well as the C-swivel that makes it possible for the motor to transition to run alongside the gunnel as opposed to running across the whole bow. We did have to make some small changes to the inspection port frame in order to get it to fit in the gap that our gunnel has. The inside of the lid makes for a perfect measurement of the hole that you're going to have to cut. You're not a real man until you've taken a grinder or cut a hole in your boat. And there you can see the flat edge to the inspection port where we had to cut that down in order to get it to fit in the space that we had. Due to the limited amount of room and maneuvering that we had, I decided to use a Dremel, a little bit more painstaking to get through it, but it worked just fine and I was able to do the delicate work that was required to get this hole cut out. Anywhere where there was a snag or a point that wasn't quite cut right for the hole, we did a little bit of cleanup. Same thing with the Dremel, and even instead of the cutting wheel, use the grinder there, and you'll get it to the point where it'll be a tight and perfect fit. In our layout, we are losing a cleat, but it's pretty far up on the bow, and it's a cleat that we've never really used anyhow. And I'll show you later in the video how to plug up these holes and not have to get too wrapped around the axle over filling holes in. It's just a unique way to plug the holes that are left. We now have room to work, which would have been impossible without that inspection port in order to get up into the gap that is the gunnel up in that area. Couldn't see it, couldn't get your arm in there. And all of the wiring through the plug port that we're going to cut later can run down along the hull and into the cuddy cabin, sealed up, no leaks, good to go. And here you see the plate that goes on the underside of the sea swivel. That plate spreads the weight out across the gunnel and the fiberglass.
Towards you.
You find the correct position, absolute perfect position for your layout. And we did have to do a little bit of modification of that plate in order to get it to fit on the flat part of our gunnel.
Okay, hold it right there.
Next, you start to size everything up, get your holes drilled, and put the puck to the underside of the deck so that you can bolt everything together for the sea swivel. Because this is an exterior surface and a little bit dirty, we're going to use some acetone to clean any oil, grease, grime off of that surface, and then use the marine sealant to seal it all down. You're going to need a healthy sized bit in order to drill the hole in the center of the sea swivel that it pivots on. So plan on a trip to the store unless you happen to have one of those. I believe it's a 1-inch. You do have to pack those bearings with marine grease because you've got to think about the forces and pressures that are on that and the number of times that that's going to swivel around every time we deploy it. So that's the frame for the sea swivel. Now we'll go ahead and do the electrical. We'll get that drill and that Dremel back out and we'll cut the port for the plug connection. Remember those cleat holes that were left in? Here's a quick tip or trick, and you don't have any complex filling gaps, filling holes, and cosmetically it looks pretty good too. And finally, it's just wiring and making the connections in the boat. I haven't 100% landed on what I'm doing with the railing yet. It is cut, it does have hinges. It's the attachment on the opposite side from the hinge. If there's anybody out there that knows a better mechanism or fixture to close the gap and lock it on the far side, I'm all ears. Just make a comment down below that what you've seen work for closing that gap and locking it in. The hinge side works perfectly. For the battery box, we did end up putting a soft, designed for battery acid tolerant floor into the box, and it's very much a gel consistency. The battery will not take any sharp shocks with that in place. And then we took the foam that the battery came in and locked it around the edges with that foam. Initially, I had planned on using spray foam to do that, but just decided that the cutting the foam from the battery, what the battery arrived in the shipping box from, and cutting it to size, wedging it in there, and it locked that battery down tight. We also installed a strap that attached to the battery box that keeps the battery from jumping up vertically as well. With the Rhoda motor, you also get this anchor, ball anchor cleat. I'm not sure what it's called, but it tightens down and it holds that head solid like a vice grip. Here locally, we call this the sound of freedom.
Got that big, but he's digging. Don't try to hook. Damn.
When you're at the wrecks offshore Virginia Beach, I'd say better than 50%, sometimes 70% of the boats are now using these GPS lock trolling motors. It's a game changer, especially for the captain being able to fish. Instead of working that throttle and that steering wheel, you're actually line in hand and catching fish.